Hey, are you a computer aficionado? Are you looking for an editor, a programming editor? And are you using Linux? If you answered both yes to those questions. However, here's number 3. Are you using Lubuntu? Now, you can use these instructions for other Linux distributions, but this is tailored towards Lubuntu, which is a Debian derivation distribution. You know what I'm saying? So Bluefish, it's actually a programming editor. There's many different programs that you can use to, write code in, program in. Now, the Uniform Resource Locator is highlighted on screen, bluefish.openoffice.nl, and that is highlighted at the top here with the mouse cursor, and it's highlighted. That's the Uniform Resource Locator. You could quickly type that in, you could find this page, or you could just perform an internet search for Bluefish editor. Now, it's a programming editor, and also you can use it for web development because a lot of websites use programs. However, you can also use it for PHP and hypertext markup language, also known as HTML. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to show you really quickly is how to install it. It's real simple. Now, if you're used to the command line, all you have to do is type in this command that I have highlighted for you. And I might write a blog post. If I write a blog post, it'll be in the description of this video. And all you have to do is click on it and you'll have written instructions on how to perform these steps. If you're familiar with Linux, command line, real easy, app-get-install, and then space Bluefish. So a space between app-get and then a space between install and Bluefish. Just hit enter. And it's already installed. I have version 2.2.15-1. But if it's not installed, obviously it's not going to be installed, right? It'll just prompt you and you just say yes and it should install. There's not that many dependencies. They may already be installed or they may not. Now remember, this is for Lubuntu. Lubuntu is they don't really call it lightweight anymore. They kind of shied away from that. I'm using the Lubuntu that is very lightweight, meaning it's minimal. It did come with a graphical user interface, but very few programs, just a couple programs, really they're kind of like accessories, or you know what I'm saying? Other than that, none of the major bloatware. Now, another way you can install, if you're not accustomed with the command line, if you're using Linux, I never give out advice, I never guarantee anything, I never recommend anything. You might want to learn the command line in Linux because they actually save you time. Now, you can install it with Discover. Lubuntu has a software center. It's a graphical user interface installation center, software center called Discover. I did not like it. It was bloated, and I chose not to. There's 3 different types of distributions now for Lubuntu, but I'm not going to discuss those. I picked the 3rd one that is very streamlined, very little software at all. You know what I mean? Basic, no web browser, nothing. Okay. But that is another way. Now, if you're not using Lubuntu, you could follow these instructions for other Debian derivation distributions such as Kubuntu, Lubuntu, Ubuntu, any of the Debian variations, and use apt-get. You could also use the Red Hat Linux derivations such as SUSE, Fedora, etc. But you'd have to use Yum, and I'm not going to go over those instructions. So it's real easy to install. And what was it, 16 megabytes? It was like 13 or 16 megabytes. Very small, very lightweight. Okay, now I want to show you the editor. The editor looks like this. Now remember, it's a programming editor. I use it primarily for hypertext markup language, some JavaScript, and XML too. Other than that, I'm not a programmer. I'm just not a programmer, but I do have a information technology background, and I do know how to write some hypertext markup language, a little bit of PHP, some JavaScript, and blah, blah, blah. Now, as you can see, the interface is kind of self-explanatory, and I'll go over that. Later on in this video, I'll tell you what programming languages that is compatible with this editor. It's not just the ones I mentioned, but this is called the snippets menu for C, Apache, DHTML, DocBook, hypertext markup language, PHP plus hypertext markup language, just PHP by itself, replace, structured query language, and even Python. Now, you just highlight these menus, and So it's not just for programmers that would type in just command line or just write the code, right? It does have a GUI, graphical user interface, obviously, and you could like select a form or a calendar table. Now, I don't know what would be faster if you were to learn how to program, even if it's just a few languages or even just the markup languages like XML, and which is a markup language, hence the term XML, or even hypertext markup language, or what, JSON? Well, JSON is actually based off of JavaScript, but you know what I'm saying? So there is different ways to perform your tasks. You know what I'm saying? And it is just an error, so you can type in Aaron is the worst YouTube, excuse me, political correctness. We censor YouTube content creator, YouTube content creator. And then if I wanted to make it bold, well, yeah, I just click on that. Now, if you notice, it created the tags for HTML. So there is a way that you probably could learn how to program just using the menus, and there's not much when you right click though. I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but there's not a whole lot here. You know what I mean? You can do very simple tasks. What else? Now it does have a preview mode. There's this right here. It'll open up your default web browser and it'll preview, especially like hypertext markup language and even PHP, it'll preview in a web browser if that's necessary. And what else? Now let me go over. Now certainly in 8 minutes I can't, demonstrate every single option, but let me go over the programming languages that is supported. If you click here on the home page, if you go to the features, it lists them right here. It says it includes language definition files for Ada, ASP.NET, and Visual Basic, C, C++, Custom Style Sheet, which is what CSS stands for, CFML, Clojure, D, Get Text PO, Google Go, Hypertext Markup Language, X Hypertext Markup Language, and even Hypertext Markup Language 5, which is the current version of Hypertext Markup Language. It's the most recent. Java, I'm not a fan of Java, but JSP, JavaScript, and jQuery. It doesn't mention JSON. JSON is JavaScripted Object Notation or something like that. It's a variation of JavaScript, actually, JSON. What else? JSP, Java, Lua, Octave, MATLAB. MATLAB is mapping for mapping. MediaWiki, NSIS, Pascal, Perl, PHP, Python, R, Ruby, SAS, Shell, which is just, now on Linux, you don't even need an editor to learn Shell. Whenever you open this terminal window right here is basically Shell. It's a Shell environment, it's a Shell login. You can type in Shell commands and blah, blah. Okay, where did I leave off? Scheme, structured query language, SVG, Vala, WordPress. Why in the world would you use that horrific content management system that has security vulnerabilities? Anyways, and then XML, which is a markup language itself. All right, so those are the languages. I don't know if it supports other languages. I don't know if there's any plugins or extensions you can install if your language is not listed. You may be able to perform internet search, but that was a really quick, crude, introduction about installing it really quickly, and then just the graphical user interface itself. So in summation, you could probably learn a lot of languages just by using the GUI, because if you notice, if you click on any of these like DHTML, they've got certain things. Like PHP, you could insert and include, and general. You're right. So some things you might be able to get away with it, but some languages you might not be able to. You're going to have to actually learn how to, type in and program the code, line by line. Adios.